Welcome to Academy of Civil Services. In this video, I'm going to explain you an important topic that is election of President of India, election of Vice President of India. This topic is very much important for our upcoming prelims examination because there was a news regarding the election of President, as well as recently we have seen in the news regarding the election of the Vice President of India. We have new President, that is Draupadi Murmu, and we have new Vice President as well, Jagadish Dhangar. These are the two important personalities also coming in the news. In this context, in this particular video, I am focusing more on the who will participate, that who will participate in the election of the President of India, election to the Vice President of India, as well as we'll also compare who will participate in the removal or impeachment process of President of India as well as Vice President of India. Now we'll come to the point. Through this slide, we are focusing on who will participate in the election to the President of India and impeachment process of the President of India, who will participate in the election of Vice President of India as well as his removal or her removal. In this electoral college, you can see in the slides, they are elected members of the both houses of parliament that include Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha members, that is MP in the parliament. The nominated members of the both houses of the parliament. We have nominated members, specifically Rajya Sabha. We have 12 nominated members to the Rajya Sabha. They are nominated by the President of India. And these are the concerns that you need to know regarding the polity syllabus, especially this will be covered in your parliament module. But here, whether they will be participate in the election, whether they will be part of the removal process, that we need to look into. Similarly, the elected members of legislative assemblies of the states and elected members of the legislative assemblies of the union territory, we have states and we have union territories. In some union territories, we have legislative assembly. For example, Delhi and Puducherry, currently they have legislative assembly. But Jammu and Kashmir also in the upcoming years, now the election is going to be held in Jammu and Kashmir. We know that reorganization of Jammu and Kashmir after it was converted into now Union Territory, Jammu and Kashmir, and Union Territory, Ladakh. Within this, we have seen that legislative assembly will be available for Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory. So in future, if an election is going to be happen to the office of president or vice president, we need to study the elected members of legislative assemblies in the Union Territory like Delhi and Puducherry and Jammu and Kashmir. But currently, Delhi and Puducherry have a legislative assembly, and future Jammu and Kashmir will also have a legislative assembly as a union territory if the election is over. Similarly, some of the state in India have the another chamber, that is state legislative council. So we know that the parliamentary system of government that we have adopted for the union government as well as in the state government. That way, in the union terms or union level, that we can see the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha is the upper house, the first chamber or the second chamber you might have studied regarding this. That is Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha is the lower house, Rajya Sabha is the upper house. Two houses we can see in the parliament. That's why we are following parliamentary form of government with two, that is bicameralism, two houses. Similarly, in the state, we are following parliamentary form of government, but most of the state have only one house, that is known as legislative assembly. But some state in India, for example, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Maharashtra, some state in India, they have a legislative council also. Most of these members to the legislative councils are indirectly elected. Either may be nominated or either be indirectly elected by a electoral college will be there and they will participate in the election. So these are state legislative council. Whether they will be part of the election to the president, whether they will be part of the removal of the president, etc., that we are going to look into this. So we will analyze, especially when come to the election of the president, the elected members of the both two houses of the parliament, whether they will participate in the election. Yes, in this case, they are part of the election to the president of India. Now, out of this electoral college that I have given in this particular slide, we will have to look into who will participate in election of the president first. In the election of the president, we know that the election to the president is followed by the indirect election method, that is by proportional representation by means of single transfer vote. That we, the people of India, not directly part of the election of the vice president, because the election to the president of India or vice president of India Both these elections are followed by a method called as proportional representation by means of single transfer vote. That is indirect election. So indirect election is conducted for the election of the president and vice president. As well as we also know that in case of Rajya Sabha election also followed by indirect election on the basis of proportional representation by means of single transfer vote. If you do not know the concept of proportional representation by means of single transfer vote, we will take another video in the future times. Now we will focus here on who will participate in this indirect election to the president of India, because we the people of India not directly participating in the election like the Lok Sabha or Assembly election. That way, we are telling that the election to the President of India and Vice President of India is followed by indirect election on the basis of proportional representation of by means of single transfer vote, not on the basis of adult franchise system. Here, when we look into the electoral college, elected members of the both houses of the parliament, that include Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, that is elected members. Those who are elected to the Lok Sabha either directly, if those who are elected to the Rajya Sabha indirect elections, that means elected members of the both houses of the parliament, they are part of the election of the president. So that they are part of the election of the president. So we can take it because they are part of the election of the president. When it comes to nominated members, we know that Rajya Sabha already I have mentioned 12 members they are nominated to the Rajya Sabha. Recently, P.T. Usha. We have seen that she is a member of now the Rajya Sabha and nominated member. Important personalities were mentioned in the news. So, like P.T. Usha, there are 12 nominated members in the Rajya Sabha. Whether they are part of the election or not, they are not part of the election of the president. That's also we need to do. When we study regarding the electoral college of the president election, the nominated members of the Lok Sabha, earlier we had nominated members from Anglo-Indian community to the Lok Sabha, but after amendment in 2020, we have seen that now that nomination to the Lok Sabha was removed. Currently, nominated members we can see mainly in case of Rajya Sabha, they are not part of the election of the president. Then when it comes to the state legislature, I told you that we have assembly and some of the state may have another house, that is state legislative council. In this case, elected members of the legislative council assemblies. Some of the state in India may have nominated members as well. In this case, elected members like the parliament, those who are elected in case of assembly, we know that directly elected to this house. So elected members of the assembly is also part of the election of the president. So if the assembly, your own states, any state assemblies, the elected members of that house in India, that is the states, also participate in the election of the president. Then we also mentioned regarding some of the union territory in India also have a legislative assembly. In this legislative assembly, Delhi and Puducherry currently they have legislative assembly. So they are union territory which is directly administered by the central government, but some of the union territories have given more power and particular things. They are different because we are following asymmetrical federalism. In this case, Delhi and Puducherry also participates in the election of presidents. So elected members of union territories also participate in the election of the president. And Jammu and Kashmir, now we didn't form the legislative assembly of Jammu and Kashmir in the last election, so they did not participate in the election of president, that is Draupadi Murmu's elections. That way, the vote value of NP in the recent election of the president of India was reduced from 708 to 700. That also I hope you have followed the current affair. And when come to the members of the legislative council, I told you some of the state in India, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Maharashtra, those states have legislative council. That is upper house legislative council. Indirect election happened to this council. So the members of legislative council are either elected or nominated members of this legislative council are not a part of the election of the president. That means legislative council in the states are not a part of the election of the president. So you can see when we analyze this particular table, you can see that only the elected members of the parliament, elected members of the state and union territories are participating in the election of the president. Especially union territory means those who have legislative assembly in those union territories. only elected members. So the question will be coming like that: who among the following participate? So we need to focus here: nominated members of the both houses of parliament, nominated members in the state assembly or union territory assembly. The entire members of the legislative council are not a part of the election. Now we'll also study regarding the removal of the presidents. Here we are only focusing on the election of the presidents. In case of removal mainly we refer the term impeachment of the president. So on the ground of violation of the constitutions, as per the constitutional provisions, we can remove the president of India through an impeachment process which requires special majority. These are part of your, you need to refer those important facts. Here, we'll only focusing on who will participate in the removal process. We have covered who will participate in the election. They are part of the electoral college of the president. They are elected members of the both houses of the parliament, elected members of the assembly of the state and union territories like Delhi and Puducherry currently and future Jammu and Kashmir. Then members of the state councils, not a part of it. Nominated members of the state or union territory or parliament are not part of it, but in removal. When it comes to removal of the presidents, elected members also part of it because they are the members of the parliament, because impeachment process mainly happening in the house of the parliament. So both the houses they have to pass separately with a special majority. There is a process is also there. A formal process is also there. And 40 days advance notice has to be given to the president. There is an investigation process. It is also called as a costly judicial process in the parliament. So because of that, nominated members in the parliament of the both the houses, that is Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, if there is a nominated members, they also participate in the election of, that is removal of the president. In case of removal of the president of India, both the elected members of the both houses of the parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, nominated members of the both houses of the parliament will be participate in the removal or impeachment process of the president of India. That's a fact that we need to study regarding this particular point. But even though the elected members are part of the election, but they are not a part of the removal process or impeachment of the process. Similarly, union territory is also not a part of the removal of the president. Similarly, already legislative council they are not a part of the election, so they are also not a part of the removal. So in this particular point you can see that in case of removal or impeachment of the president in India, only elected members of the parliament and nominated members of the parliament are participating, even though the elected members of the state and union territories are participating in the election, but they are not a part of the removal process or impeachment process of the president. Mainly this impeachment process happens within the parliament, that is both houses they have to pass separately with a special majority. So this is a fact that you need to remember, particularly for the police perspective. Now when it comes to the vice president of India, who will participate in the election of vice president of India? In this case, election to the vice president of India, elected members of the both houses also participate. Like the president of India, the election of vice president is also followed by indirect election on the basis of proportional representation by means of single transfer vote. In this election, both the nominated members and elected members of the parliament participating in the election. That is, nominated members of the parliament not to participate in the election of the president, but they are part of the election of vice president of India. That's the fact you need to note down here in case of election. But state legislative assemblies, the elected members or nominated members, either of the union territory or councils or states, they are not a part of the election to the vice president of it. That means state legislative assemblies, state legislative councils, not a part of the election of the vice president of India. Only parliaments, that is members in the parliament, are part of the election to the vice president, that is Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, either elected or nominated member. They are part of the electoral college for the election of vice president of India. This particular point also please note. Now we will also look into the removal process. Who will participate in the removal process of vice president of India? In case of removal of the presidents, there is no need of any formal impeachment process, and removal in case it has to be introduced in the Rajya Sabha. Then in case of Rajya Sabha, they have to pass it with effective majority, and Lok Sabha with a simple majority. These are the things that you need to refer regarding the process and the majority required for the removal of the president. Here, In this particular video, I'm focusing more on who will participate. So removal process in case of vice president, elected members also they participate. Then nominated members of the parliament also participate. So like the we have discussed in the case of election of the vice president, nominated members of the parliament also participate in the process of removal of the vice president. They are also part of the election of vice president. So also they are part of the removal process of the vice president parliaments. So the state legislative assembly either elected member, nominated members, or even legislative council. Some of the state have council, they are not a part of the removal process also. They are not a part of the election of the vice president. That means in case of election or removal of the vice president of India, both the members of the parliaments, that is either elected members or nominated members are part of it. So this calculation, this analysis, this particular revision note will help you in getting more clarity. And if you any such questions asked in the prelims, especially this question we are expecting this year, because of the current affair in 2022 election of the vice president, as well as in the previous year, we have seen the election of Draupadi Murmu as the president of India. In this case, we are expecting a question either in UPSC or your state service exam, including Assam PSC exam. So that's why this particular point, this particular chapter, you need to focus and revise multiple number of times so that it will help you in getting clarity and also you will be able to solve questions. If you analyze all together, you can see this table. So this table, you can take a screenshot as well. So you can use this table for revision purpose of who will participate in the election process, who will participate in the removal process. Sometimes question can be like, who among the following, those who participate in the election as well as in the removal process of the president. Similarly, vice president. Or other way, the question can be, who among the following not a part of the election of the president, but they are part of the removal or impeachment of the president. This is the way the question will be framed by UPSC or your state service examinations. So in that cases, these are the point, the revision table that you can use, particularly for the prelims perspective. This will help you in qualifying in the prelims exam and getting right answer to these areas if the such questions are asked. Thank you for watching this video and we'll come up with more videos and thank you all.